Hello everyone and welcome to Chess with M&M. Today I will show you so important and so famous traps in the chess that every chess player has to know. Alright? Also, if you enjoyed the video and if you want another part from these videos, please write this in a comment. Alright, so yeah, without wasting any time, let's get started. The first trap is starting by e4, the king's pawn opening, e5 by the black, bishop to c4 the Italian game, d6, knight f3, bishop to g4, and now knight to c3 by the white. Now the trap is, if the black played anything like a6 or b6 or something like g6, alright, then the white here has so strong move and it is knight capture on e5. Now what's the idea by knight capture on d5? On e5, the idea, if the black grab it, the queen on the d1, queen capture on d1, then basically here the white has bishop capture on f7, and after king to e7, knight to d5, knight to d5 will be a checkmate. Alright, so for this season here, the black cannot capture the queen on the d1, and the best move for the black is grabbing the knight on the e5, and after the capture on e5, simply here the white can capture the bishop on the g4, and by this the white will be up a pawn. Alright, also here, after knight to c3, if the black played something like knight to f6, alright, then this trap doesn't work. Why? Because after knight capture on e5, bishop capture on d1, bishop capture on f7, and king e7, knight d5 doesn't work because there is knight on the f6 controlling the d5 square. Alright? Also here, now here if the black didn't play something like g6 or knight to f6, and here he played knight to c6. Now this trap doesn't work again. Why? Because after knight capture on e5, okay, now if the black captured the queen, then bishop capture on f7, king e7, and knight d5 will be a checkmate. But the problem is the black not forced to capturing on the d1, and he simply can capture the knight on the e5, knight capture on e5, protecting his bishop on the g4 and also attacking the other bishop on the c4. So here, after knight to c6, the white here has this tricky move, and it is h3. h3, the best move here for the black is capturing on the f3, or playing bishop back to e6, or bishop back to d7. But the question here, what happened if the black played bishop to h5? Bishop to h5, now this trap works. Why? Because after knight capture on e5, of course you cannot capture, bishop capture on f7, and then knight to d5 checkmate. So after knight capture on e5, the white has queen capture on h5, and after knight capture on c4, the white here has this move, queen to b4 check, queen to b5 check, and then he will take back his piece in the next move. So yeah, this is the trap. Let's go to the next trap. Of course, the white here will be up a pawn by this trap, alright? So yeah, let's go to the next trap. The second trap is starting by e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5, the Roy Lopez variation. Now, after bishop to b5 and knight to f6, the most played move in this position is castling, but the white here has another good move, and it is d3. d3 guarding the pawn on the e4, and this move is a good move and played too many times at the World Championship tournament of 2016 between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karakin. Alright, so d3 guarding the pawn on the e4, but here the white has to be careful of this tricky move that the black has, and it is knight back to e7. Now knight back to e7, and this is the trap. What's the idea here? The idea here offering the e5 pawn for the white. And now the question is, can the white grab the pawn on the e5 or not? The answer is no, cannot capture. Why? Because after knight capture on e5 here, simply the black has c6, threatening the bishop on the b5, and after bishop back to c4, queen to a5 will be deadly. Queen to a5 check, and the black will grab the knight in the next move. So for this season here, if someone played knight to e7 to you, here basically you have to play bishop back to c4. Now you are threatening knight capture on e5, because now c3 will not comes with tempo on your bishop. c6. So after bishop to c4, threatening knight capture on e5, d6 by the black guarding the pawn, and now basically the white can castles, followed by c3, bishop to e3, knight b to d2, and also h3, and the white will continuing the game from this position. So yeah, this is the second trap. Let's go to the next trap. And this trap is in the Roy Lopez variation again, starting by e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop to b5, a6, and now bishop back to a4. Of course, here capturing on c6 doesn't work because after d capture and knight capture on e5, queen to d4 is a strong move, threatening the knight and also the pawn on the e4, and the black will take back his pawn in the next move. So, after a6, bishop back to a4, d6 by the black, supporting his pawn on the e5, and here some players love to open the middle in the opening early, and by something like d4. And d4, it's a good idea, it's not a bad idea, but the white has to be careful. Why? Because after b5, threatening the bishop on the a4, bishop back to b3, here the black has e capture on d4. Now, e capture on d4, here the white has to play something like knight to g5, threatening the pawn on the f7, and after knight to h6 guarding the pawn, he has two castles in the next move, and then castles pushing f4, f5, bishop to f4 maybe, and then knight b to d2, and then knight to f3, and he has to continuing the game from this position. But here the idea is if e capture on d4, the question is why the white cannot capture the pawn on the d4. Because here if the white grab it, the knight on the d4, knight capture on d4, here the black has knight capture on d4, and after queen capture on d4, simply here the black has so strong move, and it is c5. c5 threatening the queen on the d4. When you move your queen away, I will push c4, and I will trap your bishop on the b3. Even here, if the white try to play something like the queen to d5, threatening checkmate on the f7 square, and also the rook on the a8, here the black basically has bishop to e6, threatening the queen, and after queen to c6 check, bishop back to d7, and queen back to d5. Here the black has c4, trapping the bishop on the b3, bishop capture, pawn capture, queen capture, and by this the black will be up a piece for 2 pawns. Alright, so yeah, this is the trap. Let's go to the next trap. Now this trap, it's a beautiful trap in the Sicilian defense. The trap is starting by e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, and now c3 by the white. And okay, knight to f6 by the black, threatening the pawn on the e4, but here simply the white will play bishop to e2. The idea here, if the black touched the pawn on the e4, example knight capture on e4, then queen to a4 will be deadly. Queen to a4 threat with check, and the white simply will grab the knight in the next move. So after bishop to e2, here the best move for the black is playing g6, and then bishop to b7 castles, knight to c6, and then bishop to d7, and continuing the game from this position. So yeah, this is the trap. Let's go to the next trap. Now this trap is in the queen's pawn opening, starting by d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop to g5, sorry, and now knight b to d7. Now the trap is, the question is, this knight on the f6 is bending with the queen by the bishop on the g5. All right. So the question is, can the white capture on the d4, d5, c capture on d5? The answer, no, unfortunately cannot. Because after e capture d5, knight capture on d5, simply here the black can capture the knight on the d5, knight capture on d5, and if the black played bishop capture on d8, then bishop to b4 will be deadly. Bishop to b4 check, the king has no squares to escape, so you have to cover the diagonal by the queen, and after bishop capture on the d2, king capture on d2, king capture on d8, and by this the black will be up a piece. So for this season here, after knight b to d7, alright, the white cannot capture on the d5. Here the white will play knight to f3. Okay, knight to f3. Now the white threatening c capture on d5. Why? Because if the black played here anything like a6, then c capture on d5, knight capture on d5, knight capture on d5, knight capture on d5 doesn't work, because after bishop capture on d8 and bishop to b4 check, now I'm not forced to cover the diagonal by the queen. I can simply blocking by the knight, alright? And by this the black will be down his queen. So for this season here, sorry, the white, no, the black will down a queen. Okay, so for this season here, where here, after knight to f3, the black here has to play bishop to e7, bishop to e7. I'm pinning the knight on the f6, and now the pawn on the d5 get protected by the knight. Alright, and then he will castles, c6, b6, bishop b7, then pushing c5, and then continuing the game from this position. So, this is the trap. Let's go to the other traps. And this trap is starting also by d4, d5, the queen's pawn opening. And also, actually, this is not a trap. How can I say it? This is an uncomfortable position for the white, alright? Our bad position for the white. And if the white doesn't know what he has to play, so probably he will lose the game. How? After d5, bishop to f4, bishop to f5, e3, e6, knight f3, knight to f6, symmetrical position, and now c4 by the white. Now, if you're playing d5 on d4, so probably you will meet this position, alright, too many times. Now, the strong move here after c4 and the trap here is playing bishop capture on b1, alright. Now, the idea by bishop capture on b1 is when the white grab the bishop on the b1, here the black has this move, and it's too strong move, and it is bishop to b4. Bishop to b4 check. And now if the king goes to the e2, then the white cannot castles anymore, and also he will get problems about developing this bishop on the f1. And if the white played knight to d2, trying to covering the diagonal, so simply here the black has knight to e4, attacking this knight twice. If the white tried something like queen to a4 check, and also attacking the bishop on the b4, so simply here the black has knight to c6, covering the diagonal and also guarding the bishop on the b5. On the b4, and after rook to d1, knight capture, rook capture, bishop capture, and king capture. Now the white's king cannot castles anymore, and also the black will be up an exchange. So for this season here, after bishop capture on b1, alright, now the white here has to play queen to a4 check. What is the idea by queen to a4 check? The idea is clearing the d1 square for the king. Now after knight to c6 and rook capture on b1, and after bishop to b4 check, now the king can goes to the d1, alright? So after king to d1 and knight to e4, threatening knight to f2 to making fall between the rook and the king, here the white has to play queen back to c2, guarding the f2 square, and this position is so bad position for the white, and probably if the white doesn't know what he has to do here, probably he will lose the game. So yeah, this is the position. Let's go to the next trap. Now this trap is in the Sicilian defense, starting by e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c capture, d4, knight capture, d4, and now e5, threatening the knight. Knight to b4, threatening knight to d6 check on this king on the e8, so d6 guarding the d6 square. Knight 1 to c3, and now knight to f6 by the black. Now here the most played move, in this position, it is bishop to g5. But another line for the white, and a strong line for the white, and it is knight to d5. Knight to d5. Now I'm threatening knight to c7 check to making fall between the king and the rook. So the best way to prevent this, it is grabbing the knight on the d5, knight capture on d5, and now e capture on d5, threatening the knight on the c6, and after knight back to e7, threatening the pawn on the d5, c4 now by the white, guarding the pawn on the d5. Now here the trap comes. The trap comes if the black played a6, and a6 will be big blunder by the black. Why? Because here simply the white has this strong move, and it is queen to a4. Queen to a4, and now in this position the best move for the black is grabbing the knight on the b5 and giving the white the exchange advantage. Alright? Why? Because here after queen to a4, now I'm threatening discovering this knight to the c7 or to the c6 squares. With a double check by the king, by the queen, and by the knight. Example here, if the black played anything like a6, knight capture on d6, double check will be a checkmate. So for this season here, after queen to a4, also here if the black tried to cover the diagonal by the bishop by something like bishop to d7, then knight capture on d6 again will be a checkmate. The king cannot move to any square, and also there is no piece to grab this knight, so knight capture on d6 will be a checkmate. Also here, if the black tried to cover the diagonal by the queen, sorry, here queen to d7, then again knight capture on d6 will be deadly. Knight capture on d6, you cannot capture the knight because your queen bending with the king. After king d8, knight capture on f7, king e8, queen capture d7, sorry, king capture on d7, and now knight capture on h8, and by this the white will be up 2 pawns and also will be up the exchange. So yeah, this is the traps. Again, I didn't teach you these traps to play it. No, I teach it I teach it these traps to you to know what you have to do if you face it. All right. So yeah, this is the traps. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget us by the like and subscribe. Also, you can support us on Patreon on the link below the video. And see you in the next videos.